Faces dropped on a new edition of Soccer Down here. I figure since we're going to be starting about craziness in the Argentine Liga Profesional de Football that we should be on an Argentine kind of format today and not make any sense in terms of when we start. You know, that's what we try to do. SDH Mateo on Twitter did say that I was trying to come up with a good starting point for the Big Sam as Grimace situation based off West Brom's kits from the weekend. I tried, Mateo. I really tried. If he had worn a purple coat, I don't think I would have been able to contain myself. But he didn't, and I feel like I'm being mean and stretching it any other way. So we're going to leave Big Sam alone, at least for a little while. We're going to get into a topic that, man, everybody jumped to all kinds of conclusions. And it was hard to follow, and there are a lot of complications. But it's about a club that we know a little bit about on this show, Defensa y Justicia, and a situation involving Atlanta United. So this one's a complicated one, and John and Jarrett's hanging out with us for a while this morning as well, both have takes on this, and we'll get to it. I want to kind of lay the basics of what we know and maybe what we don't know and where things stand. So it was reported that Hector David Martinez, center back, very, very good. We've talked about him on the show before. Very technical, drives forward with the ball at his feet. Huge part of Defensa's Copa Sudamericana win. A player that I've felt like would thrive in Major League Soccer. And if it's with Atlanta, that's great. If it was with somebody else, that's great. I felt like he was a player that would do really, really well jumping up a level. Well, he joined Defensa first on loan, and it was originally a loan. And I think some people were confused thinking it was still a loan. It was not. Defensa purchased 50% of his pass and controlling rights because he was a Defensa player. That's where his registration was. They purchased those rights for $900,000 in August of 2020. There was a little bit of murkiness about what all that meant, and the one thing we don't know that has not been reported and sometimes is part of these kinds of moves is if River had any kind of a first right on refusal of moves or if they had a buyback or anything like that. We don't know, and it hasn't been reported that they did or they didn't. But you would at least, I think, have a safe bit of speculation to say that with River owning 50% of the pass and Defensa owning 50% of the pass, but Defensa can make the decisions, that River would want to have some kind of a say over what happens next. Now, the reporting was originally Atlanta United was going to purchase Hector David Martinez for $3.5 million, 50% to Defensa, 50% to River, signed him to a 4-year deal. Great number for him, in my opinion. Great length of the contract for him at 23 years old. All a good fit. That was reported widely. Then River, people who cover River very closely started to say, well, Marcelo Gallardo might want to bring him back. And when you look at River's roster, it's a little thin at center back now. Now, the reason he went on loan to Defensa in the first place is there was nowhere for him to play at River. He was blocked out by a number of people. Some of those people have gone now, and one of them is much older. So he's proven himself. He's in a different position coming back now. That needs to be understood. River produces a good number of players, and they don't have room to play them when they're trying to win trophies all the time, and it's hard to blood new players in those situations. So Defensa has become a very good friend to River Plate in these situations. And that's the underlying element here that I think most people have missed. And look, if you don't follow Defensa y Justicia or the Argentine League closely, I get it. But Defensa has had anywhere from 2, 3, 4, sometimes a few more than that, players on loan from River. And it could be from River, it could be from the reserves, it could be even from the U19s. They've come to Defensa on loan. When they don't have room to play at River, Defensa has become a place for River to loan players to. Martinez was one. Defensa liked him enough to get 50% of the pass. Now, River's played that game too. And this is a common thing in South America that I think you just have to get your head around a little bit. The Moises Caicedo saga, I think, gave you a glimpse of how complicated these things can go. But these 50% deals, they're fairly common. River just did one with Deportivo Cali to get Palavecino, the winger that they've been trying to get. They couldn't pay enough to get him 100%. Deportivo Cali wanted $5 million. River doesn't have that money right now. So they're doing 2.75 or 2.7, I think was the latest, to get half of his rights. Okay. River also did that with Liverpool in Uruguay for De La Cruz, and they've got to figure that situation out. Borre is another one that they don't have all of his rights, and to extend his deal, they've got to buy more of his rights from Atletico Madrid. This is common, and River does these kind of deals all the time. So when the reports come out about Martinez, and I think when River sees the number, it's like, well, wait a minute. We would get 1.75 out of this. That's okay. We'd rather have the player. We'd rather have the player for that amount of money because we could use him right now. And I don't think he goes in just to sit on the bench. If he does, then he's made the wrong decision in wanting to take this move. And he's going to have some say, too. If he says, you know what, I came up at River, and now I get an opportunity to go back and play. Marcelo Gallardo has called me, wanting to bring me back, and that's been some of the reporting. I want to take that move. Okay, look, I get it. If he doesn't want to make the move to a country he's never been in, I totally understand that. But there is a business component to this that I think has to be understood. Defensa could have pocketed $1.75 million in this deal. They would not have gotten 3.5. They would have gotten 1.75. Is that enough to wreck a relationship with a major club in Argentina that has provided you talent that helped you win the Copa Sudamericana? Enzo Fernandez is still with Defensa. Enzo Fernandez is one of the best teenagers in South America right now. He was a massive part of Defensa winning that tournament. If you take the 1.75 now and you say, look, River Plate, we love you, but we're going to make this deal because we want that money right now, you hurt yourself in the long term. I think the long-term relationship is more important. So all of those things come into focus here. Atlanta wanted this player. He's owned by two clubs. The one who had controlling say wanted to sell him. They agreed to a deal. The other club, who does a lot of business with the controlling club, said, you know what? We want to get this player. But, and this was the big part that came out today, and this was the part that maybe catches people by surprise. River's not going to pay Defensa for that 50% back. Probably because they don't really have the money to work with. $900,000, I would assume Defensa would want more than that. They're getting him on loan. So he, just to make it clear, he was a Defensa player that River had a 50% sell-on fee on, basically. It's the best way to think of it. Now he's going to River on loan. River can't sell him outright. It sounds like they've come to some kind of an agreement about how they will proceed when it comes to selling. That'll be down to Defensa and River. That's part of the situation. Maybe Defensa gets a little bit bigger chunk. Maybe they're betting on the possibility that if he goes from Defensa, where he did well, up to a $3.5 million offer, that he goes to River and he does well, and that offer next time goes up to 5, 10, 15, goes up into Martinez Cuarta territory, where he went to Fiorentina for 8 figures. Very possible, probably a good bet. So this is where things stand. Defensa is not going to harm their business relationship with a longtime partner. River wants the player because they could use him at center back. Atlanta United made a good offer, looked for a good deal here. They almost got it. Didn't work out. Welcome to South American Transfer Nonsense 101. That's the best deep dive I can give you in 10 minutes. And I hope it made some kind of a sense. We'll try to elaborate if we need to. Jarrett, I think for you this morning when we were talking about it, the loan part of it was the thing that jumped out to you in terms of how Defensa has dealt with this.
It was for me. It looked to me like a if it is in the way this breaks out. Let me collect myself for a minute here. The way this breaks out makes me lean more into the Marcelo Gallardo reached out to him and said, "Hey, come back and play here and get some time in." Because if that's what happened, and the way all this kind of plays out makes me think it's what happened, then Defensa could have gone to him and said, "Okay, we'll let you go, but we're keeping your rights. This is going to be a loan. We're keeping that 50%. River can keep their 50%, but we are keeping the control of him, and he will still be a defensive player who goes out on loan so that they don't run the risk of, if they had sold him to River and potentially lost some of that stake down the road, so that they don't miss out on potential profit. I think if this is the kind of loan where it sticks at 50-50, he goes back to Defensa, and then you end up in a situation where he gets sold for an even bigger amount of money, which is totally possible. If he goes in there, gets a bunch of starts, plays really well, let's say River go win a trophy or two. I mean, he could that total could jump, and they could both make a lot of money off of this. But I think this was also a thing where Defensa looked at it and said, "Okay, if he's going to go there, that's fine. We're not going to. We care more about maintaining that relationship than we do building the Atlanta United one. That's not a shot at Atlanta United, but you have a pre-existing relationship with one of the biggest clubs on that continent in River, and it has benefited you extremely. And now you are able to do them a bit of a solid too, do one of your players a bit of a solid, and keep that 50% so that if and when he gets sold, you're going to get a profit. And frankly, if you're looking at it from their side, it might be more than you would have just now gotten if he is who you think he is. In a year or two, that total might be higher.
And for me, I look at it from the Atlanta United perspective as, once again, you're in the discussion for players in South America, and South American media are noticing. I mean, once again, Jason, when you got me hooked on Fanatis and got me plugged into Teise, I'm watching more Teise in the last year to year and a half than I would have known existed. And to see Atlanta United continually being mentioned in their newscasts, in their sportscast, about all the players and all the activity that they're engaged in down there. Once again, this is another example, even though it didn't end up with Atlanta United getting the player that they were looking for, that Atlanta United is once again in the discussion in a hemispheric sense when it comes to bringing in players, and you're still being noticed, you're still gaining interest, all these kinds of things. Once again, it's another instance where Atlanta United is being seen on the global stage in wanting to chase after quality players and bring them to MLS.
Nah, John, we got to get Atlanta United, and they're already this. This isn't anything that we have to do or needs to happen. Atlanta dealing with Defensa. Sorry, Atlanta United's a much bigger club than Defensa Justicia. They flat out are. You look at the roster valuations, you look at just the size of the club, 100% much bigger club. So no, this isn't that. This isn't Moises Caicedo, who was looked at as a jewel of South American football with his emergence on the scene. This is not that. This is the kind of move that Atlanta United's been doing from day one. They look at young, promising players, and right now it's a really unique situation. And talked about it with Rivers finances, and Gwen's been watching me research this all weekend and been rattling on trying to read stuff in Spanish. Look, you've got a lot of clubs that need money, flat out. You've got deals to make. You've got an opportunity for to get a player, and there were some questions on the Twitch pitch about is he really that good? $3.5 million. What's the big deal about him? I mean, it's not a game breaker, and I think that needs to be understood. I mean, do you have to have a center back? Well, the rumors and the conversation is out there that Franco Escobar is going to Newell's. It's going to happen. Do you have to have another center back? I don't know if you have to. I think you want to. I think you'd like to, potentially if it's the right player. I don't think you have to. You don't have to rush into a move. There's plenty of players that you can get that fit this profile. Martinez is very good. He's a player that I've talked about with Defensa since he started playing there. He's a guy, and the comparison I made, because I think you guys know by now the way when we talk about it, at least on my end, when I give you a comparison of a player, it's a starting point. It's not like he is exactly like this. He is not the blank replacement. That's not how the game works. But he reminded me of a younger, more athletic Leandro Gonzalez Pires in terms of he's got the big switch. He can carry the ball forward. I think he's probably better on the ball. He's faster. You know, I mean, that's one thing that when you looked at LGP at his best in Atlanta, he would get caught sometimes playing in that high line. I think Martinez has the speed where he would have fit exactly what you wanted. 3.5 for a player like that, no brainer if you can pull it off. You couldn't. Look, it was complicated. You took a shot. You almost got it. You didn't. River pulled the trump card. All right, cool. River gets the deal. Good for them. Maybe you buy him from River because you've had some success with that over the years, and it looks like you got another one coming in Sosa. Maybe you buy him from River in a year. Maybe River sells him to Europe and you buy somebody else. I mean, this is all part of the game. This is all kind of how things go. And this is what this transfer world is like. But I think what you take out of this, it's not that Atlanta United's in the conversation. They've been in the conversation in Argentina. This is not new. It's Atlanta United right now has some money to work with, which is good to know. You start doing the math. I mean, Martinez isn't on a huge salary, so you do the math, and 4 years, $3.5 million, you throw in the salary in that, you've got around $1 million plus in cap space to work with, whether it's TAM or whether it's a signing straight up, a transfer. Okay, you can get a good player for that. And you've got clubs in Argentina, whether it's an Independiente who is in a financial situation. There's a lot of clubs in Argentina that are in financial situations. You go up to Uruguay, you go into other countries, same thing. So if you're looking for a player of Martinez's characteristics, and that's what you want to try to transfer over, is okay. They were looking at a player who is good on the ball, is athletic, can drive the ball forward, can carry the ball forward, has some good experience. You know, he wouldn't come in and be overawed by playing in MLS. This is a guy who just won the Copa Sudamericana. All right, that's the characteristics you're looking for. Can you go find that? Sure. Is the left-footed part of it critical? Could be, might not be. I think it is pretty important because I think the way that Gabriel Heinze wants to play with his team under pressure and building up out of the back, you want that player to be comfortable. You want them to be on their strong foot. Okay? So if you're looking now, if you want to take those characteristics, add in a lefty, that's who you're scouting for if you're Atlanta United. You can find that in Argentina. You can find that in other countries in South America to fit those characteristics, but Gabriel Heinze knows the Liga Profesional de Football in Argentina very, very well. He's been there for a couple of years. He knows that league inside and out. If he doesn't know a player firsthand, he's going to have 5 people he can call to give him a detailed scouting report. This is what he's looking for. Is it a must? Is it a want? That's what we'll find out if other rumors pop up.
Yeah, and also, since we're discussing defense, Tom Robinson this morning has mentioned that he's confirmed that Hernan Crespo is flying the nest. Looks like he's heading to Sao Paulo.
No, the club's confirmed that. Defensa announced it. They said thank you. Defensa is big time in the news this weekend. Hernan Crespo making the move from Florencio Varela in Argentina with Defensa y Justicia to Sao Paulo. Looks like a 2-year deal. Better be guaranteed 2 years, Hernan, because Brazil and Sao Paulo, they'll bounce you fast. I'm biased. I would have liked to have seen him stay at Defensa because I think it was a good spot for him. I thought his best play was to hang out at Defensa until Marcelo Gallardo leaves. And I don't think Gallardo is at River after this calendar year. I don't even know if he's there after this upcoming, League Cup. I think he could leave then. I think Crespo's next in line at River if he can be available at that time. I would have waited. But if Sao Paulo is going to promise the money, they got some money. If they're going to promise doing things the right way, they could. It could blow up in his face. It's a big swing for Hernan Crespo to make this jump. We'll see if it works out. So Defensa is in a weird spot. They're not a club that generally gets a guy like Crespo. They got Bekasese on the way up. Bekasese was young. They got him. He did well. He's kind of bounced around a little bit. Does he come back because he needs a landing spot? Crazier things have happened. Or do they get the next Bekasese type, a young up-and-coming manager, or do they get the next Crespo type, a name who's trying to build something? Crespo had a disappointing run at Banfield. So, don't know. But that could affect what happens with them next. And we're talking about center backs. He's a righty, and you'd have to study if he can play on that left side, if he could do what you want. But you want somebody good on the ball. You want somebody who can give you the things that Martinez was expected to give you. There's players at Defensa who can do that. There's players there who can be very good in what you're looking for, and that might be a club that is interested in making the move. Donis Frias, who's 22. Incredible on the ball. I thought he was the man of the match in the outside of Brian Romero, man of the match in the Sudamericana final. He was great. And they were playing a line of 3 in that tournament. That's what Crespo was generally playing, a 3-4-3. Could Frias be that? He's righty, but does he give you everything else? And do you get the right kind of price you're looking for? Is it somebody else? That's what you're looking for with Atlanta United now. Do they go back to look for another center back to replace what they tried to get with Martinez? But this is the transfer life, y'all. I mean, this is what's going to happen. You're going to get linked to players. You're going to get close. Things are going to fall apart. You go for the next one. This is what happens, and you're building a brand, you're building a name, and you're being aggressive, and that's good. And Gabriel Heinze opens doors, but you're not going to get every player you want. You got to move on, and you go get the next one.
Okay, here's a question that just popped into my head, and well, yeah, no, as you're discussing lefties and righties and center backs, how typical is it for a left-sided center back to be right-footed and a right-sided center back to be left-footed, or does that kind of a thing really matter when you're looking at the strongest foot being toward the center of the pitch?
It matters, but don't worry about the center of the pitch. It matters, but there's more righties than lefties. I mean, we know this. So do you have right-footed players playing as a left center back? Yeah, you absolutely do. I mean, we talked about it with Heinze and plenty of other managers. You're going to have left-footed players on the right side. You're going to have right-footed players on the left side. You're going to have inverted fullbacks. You're going to have inverted wingers at times. You're going to do all kinds of things like that. So I don't know how critical it is for him in that phase. The thing to understand with Heinze, and if you are now subscribing based off of Liverpool yesterday to the new, not really new, the newly popular theory of don't play out of the back. It's scary. It's scary. It's like a horror movie. Don't play out of the back. If you subscribe to that, you're going to be watching Atlanta United with your hands over your eyes, watching between your fingers, because you're going to play out of the back. And you need players who can play out of the back. And yes, it's easier at that center back spot to be on your strong foot on that side. It's easier. Doesn't mean you can't do it, but it's easier in that situation. So if you're going to prioritize being on the right foot, on the right side, center back might be the position that you're really focused on that. You went for a lefty here. Is it because of him being lefty and the other characteristics? Or was it the other characteristics and being lefty was a bonus? Don't know until we know what other players could be pursued. But you're going to build out of the back. And sometimes you're going to get burned, and then you're going to build out of the back again. And you might get burned again, and you're going to build out of the back again. And when you play long, you're going to do it with an idea. You're not just going to bomb it long and see what happens. You're not just going to play it into Rosette, as Jessica Sharman would say. You're not going to do that. You're going to have a plan. Your number 9, Joseph, is going to drop in. Your other guys are going to make moves to open up space, and you're going to play into that spot. You're not just going to bomb it and give away possession, because everything for Gabriel Heinze and everything for Atlanta United is we want the ball. We don't have it, we're going to fight to get it back. We have it, we're going to cherish it. We want the ball. We're going to build up out of the back. If you build up out of the back properly, you're setting your team up for success going the other way. Now, if you don't, it's incredibly risky. But you are going to build out of the back, and if you have a problem with that, you're going to have to get on board, because there will be mistakes. There will. And I'm sorry, this idea that, no, you can't build up out of the back. You are limiting what you can be by doing that. You know, Jarrett, I mean, I don't, you'd have to tell me Celtic stuff on this, but I think, correct me if I'm wrong, the difference.
Do I have to?
Yes, you do. One of the major differences from your time with Brendan Rodgers, where you've talked about, Rodgers wanted to play, he wanted players who could play, to Neil Lennon, is one of those differences the willingness to play out of the back when the time came, because I can see Rodgers as a guy who understands that concept, and Lennon is a guy who would be scared of it.
Yeah, and it's also the fact that I think in the past there was frustration with a guy like Rodgers because he's going to play this build-up style, and you would go into your games in Europe against teams that are better than you, and you would still play that way and get, the couple times got blown off the field by better teams when you stuck to your style. It's just a consequence of it. Sometimes you make mistakes against elite teams; they punish you even more.
You got to be perfect, yeah.
Yeah, it's a building out of the back thing, but it's also a playing through the middle of the field.
Can we pause real quick there, Jarrett? Because I want to ask you something, because this is an interesting conversation when it's going to come to Atlanta United. So you mentioned that, like the whole idea of this is their style, this is what they do, and they would keep doing it under Brendan Rodgers, even when they'd play a better team. And Celtic would play teams that were better in Europe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
very consistently.
Yeah, and that's going to happen. That's nothing new. So do you think they would have done better by trying to do something that they don't do? Like, if you're a team that plays, can you be a team that doesn't play? Can you all of a sudden become Big Sam's team when you're Pep's team? I don't think you can.
It's a dilemma. You can try. Is it worth trying? Is it worth, saying, hey, we're just going to, punt it down and try and have we're going to put a big striker up there like you were able to do back in the day when you had a Giorgio Samaras who you could put up top, who was 6'3", who could kind of be that hold-up guy and bring it down and play it off to somebody and try and play that Hail Mary hook and ladder. If that's your thing, that's your thing. But to just go and do it when it's not your thing, is it more detrimental than playing your style? Like, if you play your style against a PSG and you get blown off the field when you give up 4 or 5 goals because you get turned over in the midfield and you get stretched out, is that worse than if you decide, hey, we're just going to punt it and we're just going to see what happens? Are they still going to break you down in the same way? Like, is the result going to dictate the way people view this, or is it going to be the people are going to look at the way it actually played out, as opposed to, hey, we're going to build through the middle, which, Rodgers did through an entire season and literally did not lose a domestic game doing so. Or are we going to kind of push it down the field? We'll get it out wide. We'll push it down to the touchline as hard as we can and then hit this looping cross back into the middle or play it back to somebody who's a little bit even wider and play another cross in, and we'll throw out, as many crosses as, Minnesota did in the 2018 Atlanta United game in the freezing cold. I would prefer to see a team actually build through the middle because I think it's fun to watch, but not everybody's built that way. And if you're going to be something you're not, there are the potential consequences are gruesome. I think the consequences of being a punt and chase team that tries to play through the middle are a lot more gruesome, though, than the consequences of being a team that tries to build out of the back and punts deep, if that makes sense.
But aren't the potential consequences seemingly worse if you're doing something that's not a part of your DNA and you're trying to do something differently in that situation than if you're being you? Consequences are consequences. You understand that going in, but then you change who you are. You run that risk of being worse with the consequences because you're doing something differently.
Yeah,
and we've seen this in Atlanta too already, with people losing their minds when Tata would not change what he was doing when he would play Red Bull's first few years.
Mm-hmm. But you do that for a couple of reasons. He did change in the postseason, which was a surprise, and I think the biggest surprise was how effective it was, because usually this doesn't work. You did have time to prepare a little bit for that. That helped you. It was a postseason tournament. It has a little bit different feel. It's hard to do on the fly, and I think that the understanding needs to be this. When you are a team that is a possession team, that you are based on having the ball, you don't just say that's what you do. You don't just say, yeah, this is how we're going to line up. This is what we do. Yeah, go scrimmage. It's all good. No, you're working on it every day. You're thinking about it every day. Every video session is built on it. So you can't really go in, especially in Celtic's situation in those years with Rodgers. You have a game on Wednesday in Europe. You can't go in from your game on the weekend where you play your way and it works really well to going in with maybe one training session to say, okay, now we're going to play the opposite. Now we're going to be completely different. It's almost impossible. And in that situation, too, where you're not truly being judged on what you did in Europe because you were doing everything right domestically, you play your way. Play your way. Be true to yourself. It's going to help you in the long run. If you're going to be a team that stands for something, that is built on something, you're going to play your way. Marcelo Bielsa's Leeds is a prime example of this. Pep Guardiola shows you a little more pragmatism, but his teams they stick to their principles. So they don't abandon them. Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool, they stick to their principles. They play their way, even against a good team like Manchester City. Are they at times a little more conservative? Sure. Are they at times, all right, we're being pressed, we've got to play long here even though we don't want to and we're not comfortable? Yeah, you do, because you have to adjust to the game in front of you. But you have to stay true to your principles. And you're going to see that with Atlanta United. And the idea for a team like Atlanta United this season and under Gabriel Heinze is going to be, we are going to play our way because we feel like this is going to be the best way forward. We're going to have talent. We're going to have the right training. We're going to build the right way. And I don't care if we're playing a pressing team in the Red Bulls, if we're playing a bunker and counter team like somebody else, doesn't matter. We're going to play our way. That's what you're seeing more and more. And going back to the beginning of the show with the Martinez conversation, that's why you're looking for players with some of those characteristics. You want guys who are good on the ball. Atlanta United has typically always gone for players who are technical. That's always been a hallmark because, again, this way of playing is not new. Is it going to be at a different pace? Yes. Is it going to have different characteristics than Frank de Boer? Yes. Is it going to have different characteristics than Tata Martino? Yes. But the principles are not dramatically different. Got to be technical. You got to be good on the ball to play this fast. You got to be good on the ball to play in this way. You got to be good on the ball to control games. So why do you go add a Mikey Ambrose? Super technical. Very technical, good on the ball, left back who can come in and spell George Bello when the time comes. Why do you go get a Mateo Sosetu? Technical. Very technical. I think exceptionally technical. Can you bring the other elements of his game out? I think so. Why did you go get Emerson Hyndman on loan? Technical. He's a technical player. He's a good player. He's a good soccer player. Can he be better in some of the things that he's not as strong in? He needs to be, because he's going to get pushed for playing time. And if he's not better, he's not going to get playing time. That's the challenge. But you've got to be technical. You've got to be. That's the only way you're going to play. Lisandro Lopez at his age, why do you go get him? He's technical. He can come in and he can beat people even at 37, 38 because his touch is better than most. He's going to read the game better. He's got the brain and the technique. Like, you're looking for those players to be able to do what you want because that's your identity. So who do they go get next? I think they're probably going to go back to their scouting reports. They're going to go back to the lists that they all have. And they're going to say who could be available. And they're going to look at who's performed well. They're going to look at who fits the characteristics. There are quite a few. I mean, we can go through a list of players from South America who fit those kinds of characteristics, but it's all going to be down to the connections. It's going to be down to who's willing to sell right now. You've got to look at, in my opinion, Brazil and Argentina, and more so Argentina because of Gabriel Heinze's time in the league. They're about to go into a competition. There are some clubs who are not expected to win this competition who might be willing to sell to build for the longer competition in the second half of the year. There are others who are going to be looking at Copa Libertadores, Copa Sudamericana. They might not be as willing to sell, although Defensa was, and they're going into the Libertadores. There's also clubs that need money. So you're going to have a lot of different things that adjust that list. But I think you're going to be looking for a technical player to play out of the back. That's the idea.
What do you think, Jarrett?
I think they're going to do the same thing they did after, if you want to draw a line without making a direct line of, oh man, they went and tried to get Moises Caicedo. You shot for the moon. Good job. Oh man, it didn't work. Okay, well, we got Sosa on that list. We could go get him. All right, cool. So it sounds like that's going to happen. Your list of great players is not one deep that you're chasing. That's okay if you don't get one. If something like this happens, like what happened here, it's not the same thing as Oscar Romero.
Oh no,
our favorite. Our favorite, what might have been that led to Joseph Martinez. Thanks, Oscar, for going to China, buddy. Because that was a matter of like you had him and a Chinese club like swooped in with a vault of money that they stole from Scrooge McDuck,
probably,
to get him. And that's one thing. Like this wasn't. No, this was. Hey, we'll do this. And Marcelo Gallardo called him. And was like, hey man, I need center backs like nobody's business. You want to come be one? And Defense decided, hey, we're gonna do a solid to the team that has helped us out a lot, but we're gonna maintain controlling stock here. It wasn't like Atlanta got outbid at the very last moment, because here's one thing about it: River doesn't have the money to outbid you right now.
They're not getting outbid at all.
No.
River might outbid Launchpad McQuack. That's about it.
Wow, that's a reference.
Wow, what Launchpad McQuack? Even I don't know that one.
Explain it for John.
Okay. Well, John, if you've got Disney Plus, I just want you to go watch Tailspin and DuckTales.
Ah, okay.
Nice.
Okay. All right. Yes. Yeah.
That's about all they're outbidding.
I thought it was somewhere in that vein. I just didn't quite know the specificity of it. Because if you had Scrooge McDuck and Launchpad McQuack, I figured it was same church, different pew. I just didn't know specifically where.
It's kind of like the difference between the Free Presbyterians and the Locked Up Presbyterians. It's the same denomination, just a slight difference. It's fine.
That went into a completely different place.
River's not outbidding anybody right now. So you're not getting outbid by River. Defensa just did what they needed to do. And frankly, it might benefit them down the road. Sucks for Atlanta. They missed out on this guy. Not the end of the world, though. And they have other names on that list. There's no way they don't. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing their job.
Right.
I mean, the highest valued left-footed center back in Argentina, according to Transfermarkt, is Luis Abram, who played at Vélez, who played for Gabriel Heinze. He is Peruvian, and he is valued at $7.48 million. That's a whole big jump up from what you were looking at for Martinez. That's probably way too much. But that's the kind of guy. Like, you're looking for guys who, are left-footed center backs. If you're specifically looking for that, he's going to be a higher value. You keep going down the list, you'll find people, you'll see who's available. All kinds of different abilities here to sort this out. You guys saw over the weekend, I'm sure by now, that the MLS and MLSPA have provisionally agreed to everything. The players were voting. I'd be blown away if the players disagreed with their leadership council and voted against it. Those votes are due by noon. It's done. I'd be absolutely shocked if they went against it, because they want to get back in as much as everybody else. We'll probably get the full terms of the changes to the CBA here at some point. It could have got done faster. It should have got done faster. A lot of people were in their posturing and in their feelings and in their debating. Well, not really too much debating, because it took a while for that to actually happen, and that was the problem. We could have been further along by now, but no delays to the start of the season. No delays to anything outside of the already announced delay that the players wanted, an extra month. They got it. You're looking at training camp opening in a couple of weeks. And when you look at Atlanta United, and this has been the question on the Twitch pitch, what are you looking at that needs to happen the rest of the way? Because we've seen some teams be very active in the offseason. We've seen some not be so active. Atlanta's been pretty active, to be honest. So what else are they going to do? The center back question we'll put to the side right now. You guys can dig into market values and make your selections on who you want. Don't get freaked out if you don't get who you want. It's okay. The Rolling Stones told you. You can't always get what you want. It'll be all right. What else do they need? I don't think they need a ton. Like, the right back question was another one that came up from the Twitch pitch this morning. If Franco Escobar goes, which is expected to happen now, do you need another right back to give cover for Lennon? Or are you going to be able to get by with Mikey Ambrose being cover on both sides? You have the Hernandez rumor coming back from Aberdeen. Is that what's going to happen? Was it just waiting for things to sort themselves out for that? He would probably be a supplemental roster spot. So you've got some room there, so you can make that happen. That one feels like, okay, that makes sense. I could see that. Gutman, we have no idea. Jarrett, your Celtic team is very strange with Andrew Gutman, and nobody knows what's going to happen with this man.
They're strange with everybody.
They
it's
are.
Okay.
It's nothing
Waiting
new.
for Gutman.
Well, no, I mean, you don't have to. You're not creating a hashtag out of it, waiting for Gutman, because you have two left backs. You have his rights. Celtics got to make a decision here because they're just kind of wasting time and money. Are you going to keep him under contract and do nothing with him? Are you going to bring him in to actually give him a shot? Are you not? I mean, what are you going to do? It's on Celtic at this point. You've got his rights. He'll be back in the MLS eventually, and you'll either have him or you'll move his rights onto somebody else and get a return on your investment. That's all you can do with it. Eric Remedi, those rumors are still out there. We haven't seen any resolution to that yet. Independiente and San Lorenzo have both been in the mix. Loan with an option to buy at the end of it. That's the same thing for Escobar. For Remedi, I think it's kind of a no-brainer. If you're adding Ibarra, if you're adding Sosa, that crowded midfield is way more crowded than it was last year. And Remedi was not first choice last year. So if he gets an opportunity to be first choice elsewhere, it's good for his career. It's good for his time. And if it's a loan, then, hey, if things change, things change. And you might be in a different position at the end of it. That's what that one looks like right now. I don't think you need any extra support up top. I think you're good on the wings. I think you're good. Really, right back is the question outside of the center back situation if you want to go get somebody else, which would be a great bonus. But you've got Anton Walks, you've got Fernando Meza, you've got Miles Robinson, you've got George Campbell, you've got Efrain Morales who needs time. You've got some good situations there. Sosa can drop in and play as a center back if needed, and Ibarra can drop in and play as a 6 if needed, and Mo Adams can play the 6, and you've got a lot of flexibility, and you're going to see a lot of flexibility. I think that extra right-back cover is probably the last thing on the list, and Hernandez has been mentioned before, and I think that'll probably happen.
Tafka's in this morning and asks, do we really trust Lennon as a full-time starting right back? I know that was
Why
the plan
would
perhaps.
you not? He was last year, and he was maybe your best player. Tafka, I don't understand why anybody would be questioning Brooks Lennon at this point. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see that at all.
He says he didn't really get time to develop at that role before now being tossed into it.
That's not true. He played right back with RSL when he came back. He wasn't tossed into it here. He's got 2+ years under his belt at right back. No, I think he's fine at right back. I have no problem with him at right back. And in this kind of system, you want a right back who can get forward and do the things that Lennon does in the attacking half. So, no, I think he's a perfect fit. I think him and Bello are two of the players that benefit the most from Gabriel Heinze.
And Chris Hutchison, in discussing all of the moves with Argentina, basically he's like, come play for us, Argentina, on the whole. So Chris Hutchison is wanting to bring in every possible plane, it seems like, from every possible player from Argentina to come play for Atlanta United.
It can get expensive. There's some good ones. There's some very expensive ones, but there's also some really cost-effective ones. So it's where you get. I think DK is asking, would you prefer Lennon over Escobar? At right back, yeah, I actually would. I think in this system he's a little bit better fit, and that could be some of the question marks around Franco Escobar. Look, I think it's been portrayed that he doesn't want to go, and the club was shopping him. I haven't heard it from anybody at the club, but heard some different things about this, that maybe it's the other way around. And look, if you're Franco Escobar, you're kind of stuck between positions. You've got Brooks Lennon competing with you at right back. Lennon might be a better fit for the right back in this situation. Center back, he's a good center back. I like him at center back. Mm-hmm. Center back in this position with Gabriel Heinze is a little bit different. Is Escobar more technical than Meza, than Robinson, than Walks? I don't think he is. I think he is a hard-working, intense guy. I love him in this team. I love what he's brought to this team. he might be stuck in between positions for Gabriel Heinze, and he might not fit into either one. So if you get the opportunity to build with what you have rather than rotating folks, might be the better way to do it. So again, if it's a loan, you've still got control. And if he goes down there and does really well and things don't work out with the guys that you think might be ahead of him, maybe more technical, and they prove to not be, things could change going into 22. This is David Martinez, prime example. River Plate, they're like, he's not ready yet. Defensa says, well, we'll take him because we'll take anybody right now. We need somebody to play center back. Oh, he is ready. Okay, let's get him back. That's what happens sometimes. So, you have a change in manager. You have some perceptions of what you're going to do, and maybe he wasn't in that fit. Maybe he was worried about not being in that fit. Maybe he wanted to guarantee playing time. I've seen that one happen here before. And if that's the case and you work out a deal because that Newell's thing popped up really, really fast, you start connecting the dots and how things went. It's like, okay, there's talk about maybe moving. Oh, whoa, that was fast. Okay, that came out of nowhere. Did it? And then now it sounds like it's going to happen. So sometimes things are a little bit more intriguing underneath the surface. Just saying.
We were officially caught up on Atlanta United thoughts here in the first hour on the Twitters. Nathan has his Liverpudlian thoughts, which we can save until the Premier League discussion.
Yeah, we'll get into that in just a second. I'm going to hit some questions on the Twitch pitch. If you guys have more, please throw them in. Gracias to Jason Nix for subscribing yet again. You are the man.
Yay. Man.
Hutcho Zone said the Rolling Stones also said time is on my side, which is another good call for this situation. Mm-hmm. Nice one. DK says, anyone know what we paid for Escobar? If we sell for $1.5 million, will that be a profit of any sort? I think it would be. I don't know if his numbers are in transfer marked. I don't remember any numbers being talked about at the time. I would be shocked if they were that high at that time because he was barely playing for the first team when he came to Atlanta United. So I would have thought it would have been six figures. So I think it's a profit. You add the salary and the transfer fee. Are you going to get enough to get allocation money if that sale goes through next year? It's going to be close. I think you will. Not 100% sure, and maybe you're going to finesse the numbers to make sure that you do. If you were able to pull that with Carmona, I think you'll be able to pull it off with Escobar in this situation for that money. Uncle No Pocket said having Ambrose cover right back is not ideal. You might see it from time to time, and you might see it not so much in a cover position, but you might see it against certain opponents where Bello flips over to that side and Lennon flips over to the left. Flipping inverted outside backs does happen sometimes with teams that want to play this way. So don't be blown away if it happens. It's based off a matchup that the manager would like. Ambrose, I think, has the ability to play over there if needed. On a regular basis, no. He's not going to be better than Brooks Lennon. He's not going to be better than Hernandez if he comes up. In a spot start, yeah, I thought he did fine in Monterrey. I think people got really harsh on Mikey Ambrose in that game in Monterrey where he had to step in last minute because Julian Gressel rolled his ankle 2 days before. Mentioned DK's question about preferring Lennon over Escobar. Let's see. Sam Williamson said Brooks Lennon was the best player in Atlanta last year. Not even close. Burns says, I'm really curious how Heinze rates Campbell. I think he could be the big winner of this offseason. If Miles plays in the Olympics, he'll get a lot of time. I agree. I think Campbell and Jarrett, you've been really high on George Campbell for a while now. As a converted midfielder, George Campbell brings that level of technical abilities. It's got to be sharper, but he's got the technical ability to do the things that Gabriel Heinze wants out of his center backs.
He does. He's got the technical ability. He's got the edge as well. You're not going to drop off anything. I think Miles has been hanging out with him, though, because Miles is starting to get a little bit of edge to him. Maybe then getting in the ring for a couple rounds.
Yeah.
I think he's starting to rub off on Miles a bit, but I think he's got the technical ability. And here is the thing as well, is if you ever end up with both of them back there, this doesn't count for everything. I'm very well aware of that, but that's probably the most athletic center back pairing in the league if they're on the field together, because they're both just freaks physically. I feel like people haven't We haven't really had a chance, unless you watch the twos. I don't think you've gotten a chance to see. We know how fast Miles is. We've seen Miles close guys down. Like, if you ever go watch the clips of Jadeveon Clowney when he was in high school chasing folks down, it's kind of like that. Miles will close people down like nobody's business. We've seen Campbell flash that as well, especially when he formed a partnership with the two a couple of years ago with Wesley Dacus. I mean, it was terrifying in terms of what he was able to do when he had a little bit of a leash to play a little bit and had to kind of recover position quickly. I think he's definitely got that part of it. It is going to be a matter of, and we had the same question about Miles when he came up. It's going to be that same question of, can he play with the ball at his feet? Mm-hmm. We won't know until we see him do it. And if there are rough patches in it, that's fine, because you got to develop it somehow. He's not going to develop it with you sitting there being afraid to put him in the situation. And hindsight will put him in the situation for sure at some point.
Yeah, he's coming at it from a different perspective than Miles, because Campbell, before the move to center back, which is honestly, fairly recent for him. I mean, he's played center back for about 3 years now, maybe 4. I think about 3.5. Miles was always a defender and played in teams that were having the ball and valuing possession maybe wasn't their priority. Campbell came from the midfield. Campbell grew a lot too during his time in the academy. And he's as tall as Miles. I think he might be a little bit taller, because it feels like Miles might be straight up faster or look faster, but Campbell covers so much ground with his strides.
He might be bigger too physically. Like
he's bigger. Yeah, I think he's bigger for sure.
He's bigger than you think he is until you see him up close and you go, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, he's grown a good bit during his time with Atlanta.
He's built.
Yeah, he's a thick dude. He could get some opportunities. He could. And if you have Campbell and Robinson as your center backs, you can play a very high line, and they can cover everything behind them, no problem. Thomas DeWin with a good point. Lennon's stock among some fans dropped like a rock after a couple of bad mistakes in 2 or 3 games. I think it was unfair, especially since in at least one of them he'd obviously gotten hurt and was playing through it. Yeah. Right. You got to be a little realistic, especially in a year like 2020 of what it looks like. Michael Ruiz, I think, sums it up. And I don't know if Michael necessarily meant to, but he summed it up perfectly here. I think people see Lennon as more of an attack-minded right wing back or right mid, more so than a pure defensive right back. If they do, that's what Gabriel Heinze is going to want out of that position. You're not asking your right back to stay back in the system. You're not going to see the right back to stand in there covering space. You're going to see the right back up in the other half. You're going to see the right back pressing high off the ball. You're going to see them making runs off the ball. You're going to see them making runs into the middle. When Jurgen Damm stays out wide, Brooks Lennon will come into the middle. They're not going to stay in the same spot. They're not going to stand next to each other and hold hands. That makes it too easy for the opposition. It's all about the positional play. So if Damm is occupying the wing out on the touchline, Lennon's going to come inside. And does he come inside and tuck in to support the holding midfield? He could. Does he make a run in to become an interior forward? Yeah, he can. You're going to see that. Lennon gives you that. So the idea, if people see him as that kind of player, I think they're right. And I think that's what Gabriel Heinze is looking for here. Caranhel H. And I could be completely changing that. I've been reading a lot of Spanish, trying to get better at it. Sorry. Is no one worried about the lack of MLS experience in the potential spine of the team? I feel like in MLS, knowing the league is very important. I don't think it's as big of a deal here because you're building a style of play from scratch. That's going to be the number one priority. Gabriel Heinze, Sosa, Ibarra, Moreno's got some time in the league, but he's going to be another one. If you add a center back, that's another one. They're all going to be learning it together and adjusting together. You're more worried about building your way of playing and the intricacies of it. You've got a foundation with the players who've been here before about positional play and what it means and how to do it. Heinze is going to take it up to another level. Heinze is going to really lean on that a whole lot more. Okay, you're going to have to do it at a faster pace now. Can you keep up? That's going to be the question. These guys coming in, they know what they're coming into. Yeah, I mean, I think the challenges are more about getting used to the travel, getting used to playing on turf regularly, getting used to some of the climate situations, those things. those are things that, you're going to have to learn one way or another. And I would rather get a player that you think is a better fit who doesn't have MLS experience than somebody with MLS experience who you don't think is a good fit.
Yeah.
You got to get the right players, more importantly. Burn says Escobar's best position is right center back in a 3-man back line. I think that is absolutely his best position today. That's what suits him because it gives him the freedom to go forward and be that unpredictable element stepping into the midfield. You've got cover for him if he does that. He's also athletic. He gives you the willingness to do all these things and cover this much ground. And he's got more cover in that kind of position. If he's in a 4-man back line with another center back with him, he's got to stay home more, and I thought he did a good job of that last year. But could Meza, Robinson, maybe Campbell, maybe somebody else, maybe Walks, could they be better at that position than him in a 4-man? Yeah, they could. They definitely could. And then you get to the right back question. I think Lennon is a better pure attacker than Franco Escobar. So he's a guy that's kind of in between. And I think you can make that work. But you might have better options. And if that's the case, that's the case. And it happens, and it's okay. Let's see. Transfermarkt had 500,000 euro for Franco Escobar in that deal. I don't know if that was ever confirmed. But yeah, if you get 1.5, you take that in a heartbeat. Yeah. Michael Rees asks, so where would Atlanta United fit in the Argentine rankings? Above Independiente, Newell's Old Boys, and Racing, but below River and Boca, or above the rest of the league and below the 5 Grandes? I think right now, where the Argentine league stands, they rank below Boca and River, not by a ton. I don't know if there's anybody else that they should be looked at as ranking below. I mean, Racing's in a mess at the moment. Independiente's in a bigger mess at the moment. San Lorenzo is not as strong. Those are the Grandes. I mean, the others, Bonfield's really good at the moment. I think Atlanta United is at worst even with them. Lanús is good at the moment. Vélez is good at the moment. You're at worst even with them. I think Atlanta United would be favored at home against everybody but Boca and River. I think they'd be a top 5, maybe top 4 team in Argentina right now. There's a drop-off. And there's a drop-off, and there's some inconsistency, and there's some financial issues with some of the teams that cause it. But that's my opinion. It's hard to compare because of the size of the rosters, the rules, those kinds of things. Like they can bring up guys from their reserve team all day. You can't. Those kinds of elements that factor into it. But you see guys go back and forth and step in and do just fine. I mean, Christian Pavón, good at Boca, good at LA Galaxy. Like there wasn't this huge issue with transitioning. Miguel Almiron, same thing, from Lanús here. Marcelino Moreno, same thing. It's pretty comparable. I think Atlanta United would be a top team in Argentina. Before we move on, because we've still got a few questions, we've still got some other things to talk about too. It is the midpoint of the show, and we've been going for about an hour, so that means John has to do something. Jared, are you going to hang out with us afterwards, or are you going to depart?
Oh, yeah.
You're going to hang out?
Yeah, I want to see this.
Oh, boy. John's got pressure on him now.
I want to witness. I'm going to be John's audience. We're going to make this worse.
Yes, this is going to be bad. John, tell us about our good friend, Polinsky, Steve Apolinsky.
Apolinsky and Associates, LLC, proud supporters of everything soccer down here in the SDH network for wrongful death and serious injury matters. There's only one form of communication that you need to make, one direction you need it to go, and it is with Steve Apolinsky and his firm. A couple different ways that you can do it. You can shoot Steve an email, steve@aa-legal.com. You can give him a phone call, get a free consultation, 404-377-9191, or you can go on the World Wide Web, large device or small, type in aa-legal.com, hit the enter key, the return key, the arrow key, whatever advances you to the homepage of the firm, and a pop-up window also pops up, low right-hand corner, because that's what pop-up windows do, in addition to all the information that is there on the homepage. That pop-up window is there. You can have your questions answered 24/7, 365.25. Thank you, Chris Hutchison, as always, for reminding us of that. Recognized as Legal Elite by Georgia Trend Magazine for being one of the top 100 firms in this here state of Georgia. Over 30 years of experience, over $40 million in judgments for their clients in Georgia and Alabama. For wrongful death and serious injury matters, there's only one place you need to go. That is Appolinsky & Associates, LLC. The website is aa-legal.com.
Jarrett, what'd you think?
You see, I was going to knock him for pace because I thought it was too fast. But then once he got really running, I figured this is more of a stream of consciousness thing. He's turned into an open channel like Stevie Ray Vaughan at Montreux, where it's just the channel is open and he is the interpretation for the guitar when he starts playing Scuttlebutt. So John was the open channel for that commercial, and I will not dock him points for the pace of the read.
I'm going to dock you points for comparing John's stream of consciousness to anything Stevie Ray Vaughan would do with a guitar in his hands.
Wow.
That's insulting.
Joke's on you. I have no points to take.
Oh, no. That's what you
Jarrett,
think.
just so you know, according to the team website, George Campbell is listed at 6'3", 175. Miles is listed at 6'2", 185. And in a, I guess this is breaking news, Mateo says that he is at the other end of the pop-up window at Appolinsky & Associates, LLC. Hashtag Mateo Confessions on a Monday.
Mm-hmm.
I somehow doubt that, actually.
Really?
That he is responsible for the pop-up window at Appolinsky &
You
Associates,
don't
LLC.
say.
Anyway. Yeah, that's me going out on a limb.
Yeah, anyway. Thomas Jewin says, what's John's mental state? He seems loose and happy, which is a bad sign.
I am neither loose nor happy.
He gave you a -1. Thomas Jewin, there are at least 3 forms of communication. He's correcting you. 1 Chris Berry, 9. You got an 8.675309.
Jenny!
7.5, 8.3, 7.0125, 9.35, 8, 7.4, 8.5, one of your better, 8.25. Ragamuffin's giving you a 10. I think Ragamuffins in a weird state after Liverpool's thrashing this weekend.
I was going to say
that might be weird. 9.5. Yes, Thomas Jewin. Mateo gets points docked as well. So Jarrett gets points docked. You got points for invoking Stevie Ray Vaughan, but you got points docked for comparing John's read to Stevie Ray Vaughan. And Mateo gets points docked for false confessions. That's where we stand, I think. I don't know what Jarrett's score is because I don't know what it's out of.
Yeah, really? Well, I mean, is it who is it? Is it Ricky Ricardo or El Mataflow that comes up with the random grade scale?
Usually Mataflow, yes.
Involving inanimate objects that have nothing to do with numbers?
Yes.
Okay, so Mataflow has to come up with the grade scale for Jarrett now that he has put his way into the system.
Sure. Haggis out of 12.
There you go. Nathan Pugh is in this morning, and he wanted to know, showing a GIF from The Office where Steve Carell's character gets punched in the stomach. He wants to know, is it 2021-22 yet? And he also has a separate question. He says, also, screw them, but even with all their faults, are the Glazers the greatest owners of all time?
No, not of all time, but they did something on the NFL side that one John Nelson said would bomb and be horrible and 7-9, 8-8, burp, 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 burp,
8-8, 30 sacks.
Yeah, John, you can keep sounding strong about it. Why don't you apologize to Tom Brady right now?
I would think that folks would know by now that when I make a prediction like that the actual inverse would be the case. No, I'm just saying that this is just how it ends up. I could sit here and say that
that's not how
something's going to happen, and
Gwen's calling you out for this.
Huh?
Gwen's calling you out for this.
Well, not a surprise.
Because you're trying
trying
to throw a bunch of words into the air to distract from a horrific take.
So
just say it was a bad
take. It's not the first time, and it won't be the last.
Now you're getting defensive about the
No,
horrific
I'm being
take.
factual.
No,
No.
You're getting defensive. Just say, hey, I got it wrong. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers proved me wrong.
It's not the first time. It won't be the last.
See,
I would think that people would sit there and look at my takes and go, he has been so wrong in the past that we just go to the absolute opposite, and the opposite ends up being the case. I had the Chiefs winning yesterday. I was wrong.
You were.
What a shock.
See,
I had the Chiefs winning.
You sound really defensive.
That's okay. We all make mistakes. I had the Chiefs winning too. I had them actually scoring a touchdown.
Yeah, I did too.
That just didn't happen. And you win some, you lose some.
John.
And sometimes you don't score at all, other than a couple of sad field goals.
Oh. John.
We went into almost into halftime like 21-3, and I was ready to walk into the ocean at the fear of Tom Brady winning a Super Bowl 28-3. I'd have just walked into Lake
Okay, Jarrett, you did a good job trying to bail John out. John, I'm going to ask you to do one thing.
Yeah.
Put your hand in the air. One hand in the air. Say, I was wrong. That's all.
What did I say?
No. I don't need all of the reaction. I don't need all of the justification. I just need you to say, when that deal went down this summer during our pandemic shows,
it was a bad idea.
And I said, and you said, oh, that's terrible. That's never going to work. Just say, my bad.
What?
My bad.
What? My bad.
Done. Done. Leave it there. Done. I'm going to beg of you one day to when something like this happens, don't keep digging. Don't keep throwing dirt somewhere. Don't throw words in the air to blah, 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 blah. Just say, yo, thought it was going to go a different way. My bad. Move on.
I thought it was going to go a different way. My bad.
And it happens. I thought Andrea Pirlo's Juventus would not lose me a box of white chocolate Reese's. Big whoop. It happens. You get things wrong. You also get things right sometimes. You do.
I do not.
Occasionally you do. You do. It happens. It does. You didn't get the Super Bowl pick right yesterday. Nick and I got that right. You didn't get the Tom Brady thing right. Yes, that is absolutely true. Because that's what happens.
And then we get the Super Bowl horrifically wrong. It happens.
Uh-huh.
It happens. Just put the hand up and say, yo, my bad, dog. My bad. It's all good. Don't need all the rest of it. Modaflow's yelling in the Twitch pitch, and I agree with him.
Is it like in all caps?
Yes, it is in all caps, and there's exclamations and question marks, and El Modaflow is 100% correct. All right, enough Super Bowl talk, because it really wasn't that great of a game to watch.
No, it wasn't. It was awful.
It was not really entertained. It went on forever. It was not fun.
No.
What also was not fun was if you were a Liverpool fan, and you had to watch your team get ripped to shreds by Manchester City, and you had to watch your goalkeeper have some problems. And you had to hear your manager with maybe one of the most ridiculous excuses I've ever heard outside of John trying to justify a bad pick. Alisson and his mistakes, and look, they're mistakes. They happen. He had cold feet.
Cold feet.
He had cold feet, yo. He had cold feet. Mm-hmm. That's why he looked like he had never kicked the ball before. He had cold feet. Really?
Yep.
And yes, Gustavo, personal affairs are always part of the show. That's nothing new. He had cold feet. But that's why it all went bad. And also, Klopp yelled and screamed at a German journalist, which was kind of unnecessary. Dude, you're not going to win the league anymore. And that's okay. You've had a good run, and you're still in the Champions League, and you're going to play a game against RB Leipzig in Hungary now. Cool. That's your focus. Liverpool's title chances are done. Yeah, and Chara, he did say that Manchester City got 2 bonus weeks off for COVID. He'll have more excuses.
And Roy Keane went
Roy Keane went over the top because that's what Roy Keane is prone to do.
Yes.
If you did see the video yesterday about the Roy Keane, Micah Richards relationship, it is highly entertaining, and I definitely recommend it. It's very funny. Roy Keane on Liverpool about the game yesterday. Keep performing like that, and it will be another 30 years before Liverpool win the league title. That's absurd, but that's what Roy Keane does sometimes. He does not care for Liverpool. He played for Manchester United for a long stretch of his career. The second one has some validity to it. Maybe the second part of it's a little harsh. I think they've been bad champions. In terms of defending your title, I mean, it's not like they're in the bottom half of the table, but have they looked like champions this season? Not really. They've had a lot of injuries that have played into that, and yes, that is part of the conversation. But Roy Keane said they've believed their own hype. I don't buy that. What I think is this. You see teams struggle to stay on top with the same people on the field. If you have the same lineup, if you have the same coaching staff, if you do the same things, when it gets hard like this, where you've got injuries, you've got Manchester City playing really, really well. You've got other teams pushing you. You've got challenges. You've got COVID. You've got all kinds of stuff going on. When it gets hard and you've won everything, and you don't have somebody new breathing down your neck for playing time, I don't think you believe your own hype. I don't think you have the same motivation. And they haven't freshened up the squad. You know, they kind of are what they are. They've got the injuries, and look, they're real. The idea that you can't mention the injuries is absurd. It's absolutely affected them. It's affected them directly, although their defense has been pretty good with the injuries. But they've had to play their outside backs a ton. They haven't been able to get forward quite as much. It's affected other things. Yes, it's had an effect. Teams deal with it. Manchester City dealt with it last year, and they didn't deal with it well enough to win the league. It happens. It's part of the conversation. But you didn't see Pep Guardiola acting this way that Klopp has been acting. And Klopp feels like he's burning everything down for no good reason.
Yeah.
Just like John needs to put his hand up sometimes and say, hey, my bad. I got it wrong.
Hey, my bad.
We got beat. It's okay. I don't need to go yell at a German journalist. I don't need to come up with a ridiculous excuse about my goalkeeper. He had a bad day. He had a bad day. He didn't have cold feet. I mean, maybe his feet were cold, but I think everybody's were, and they managed to pass the ball okay. That's absurd. Just, hey, we got beat by a better team. We need to be better. Get vanilla with it. Get boring with it sometimes. Don't do what you're doing, Jurgen Klopp. You're burning everything down for no good reason. I mean, I don't know. Jarrett, if you're still with us, what did you think about Manchester City and Liverpool? And is Liverpool's title hopes dashed? Are they dashed?
I think they're on the rocks. I think the ship has hit a rock at this point.
It's a big rock.
And that's okay. Like it's hard to win titles year after year. Mm-hmm. That's tough because you're not the only team that's trying to get better. You're not the only team that can catch lightning in a bottle. You know, you're trying to get better. Other teams are doing the same. And then, you get crippled by injuries. You went and bought Ben Davies at the 11th hour, not because you wanted to screw Neil Lennon over, although if that impacted it, I applaud you. But you needed a center back because you don't have any. Mm-hmm. You were playing midfielders at center back at times. I mean, this kind of has like that Toronto 2018 feeling to it of, man, they're such a bad champion. Like, they're crippled. They played a ton of games and they're crippled. That jalopy is just not getting up the hill right now. That doesn't mean that, they're an absolute failure as a champion. This isn't like you have to spend the next year acting strictly with chivalry. It's because you won a title. This isn't like we're going to take the title away because you were mean to someone else. No, that's not what we do here. Like, I appreciate that Klopp has kind of worked his way into being a heel, but, man, come on. It can be as simple as, hey, we haven't been good enough, and we basically look like, a medical tent at a Civil War battle right now. So it's kind of how it goes sometimes. Sometimes you end up with an obscene amount of good injury luck. Embrace that. Embrace luck when it gets you a title, because most teams that win championships that aren't in leagues that are just horrifically unbalanced get a fair amount of luck at some point. Don't apologize for the luck that comes with it, whether that's injury luck, whether it's, weird bounces, own goals, the wind caught a ball and it knuckled in, this, that, or the other. Somebody dropped a game you didn't expect them to. Whatever luck you have, it's okay. You don't have to apologize for luck. But you don't have to stand there at the edge of the lighthouse screaming in the face of the hurricane because things haven't gone perfectly well. Klopp is he's making that Roman Reigns heel turn, and I'm glad he's doing it. Be the heel. I don't. This is like Roman. I don't need you to be the face. You don't work for me as a face.
Yeah.
Be a heel. Please be a heel.
I don't think he's trying to be a heel, though. And that's...
Well, I want him to. I know he's not, and that's the problem.
That's the issue. Is Jose?
I want him to be.
Jose tries to be the heel. Jose enjoys being the heel.
Yeah. Oh my God! And that's why one of the reasons I enjoy him.
Yes, but Klopp. I think Klopp thinks he's the baby face here, and he thinks he's
does.
rallying the troops, and I'm fighting against everybody for the good of the club. And it's like, dude, just relax. Just do the best you can with what you have. It's hard. They're going through a bad time. It happens to every team. They haven't had many bad times in the last 2 years. All right, they're 10 points off the lead. They're probably not going to win the league this year. That's okay.
You have a Champions League. You have a league title. You have a Club World Cup. You have done more in the last 3 years than most fans would cut off their hand to have as fans of a club, and most players would cut off a hand to experience it. No matter how this ends, what Liverpool has done has been awesome. Enjoy it. You don't have to. Don't go down in a blaze of pettiness.
Jason Nixon Domer are yelling about Jose now. I want to make it clear. When I say he embraces being the heel, he's not trying to be liked in this case. I think Klopp is still trying to be liked.
Yeah, he's trying to say everything through the smile in his teeth.
It's different. I mean, Jose's smiling, but it's for effect. Look, and Jose was wrong in the way he treated the female reporter, just like Klopp was wrong in the way he's treated reporters too. It is what it is. Klopp is not embracing being the heel. Jose, I think, likes to have people not like him. I don't think Klopp likes that. Pep doesn't like that. Ole definitely doesn't like that. Brendan Rodgers, I don't know if he really cares, to be honest. Thomas Tuchel, I don't know, he really doesn't care. You got to talk about Chelsea. Chelsea's in 5th now. And this is how fast things can turn. You get somebody in there who hasn't had a ton of time, but has got a coherent plan, and you're getting wins. And you're not giving up goals very often. You're getting wins. You are now 1 point behind Liverpool. Chelsea could pass Liverpool. It's going to be interesting to see how Liverpool hangs on to a Champions League spot, because City right now is in the driver's seat for the league. Is it over? No, it's not. But they got a 5-point lead and a game in hand. They're in a great spot. Manchester United, 6 points clear of being in Champions League next year. Pretty good place to be. 5 points back from the league title, but also game in hand for City. Leicester's 2 points behind United. Liverpool's on 40 and 4th. Chelsea and West Ham are on 39. Everton is on 37. Everton has 2 games in hand on everybody but Manchester City that's ahead of them. They've got 1 game in hand on City. Tottenham's on 36. Harry Kane comes back. Harry Kane does Harry Kane things. Maybe one of the most underrated players in the worldwide who's the greatest conversation, who's the best going right now conversation. Harry Kane's ridiculous. They're on 36. Villa's on 35 in 9th. I think that's where the line is now for that Champions League spot. Arsenal, a couple losses in a row. They're on 31. They're 9 points back from that last Champions League spot. We can push them to the side. I think it's 9 now that are competing for the top 4. And I think it's really 3 that are competing for the league title. I think it's City, it's United, and Leicester. I'll still give the wild card to Everton because of the 2 games in hand, because if they win both of their games in hand, and you can never, do this way, but if we're saying that Leicester is the end of the title race side, when Everton gets to 23 games, if they win them both, they're at the same number of points. So you have to include Everton in that conversation, I think.
Yeah.
And, I mean, if Chelsea keeps winning, can they push their way in? Sure, they could crash the party. I don't think they will, but they could. I think it's City, I think it's United, I think it's Leicester, and I think it's Manchester City's title to lose.
Yeah.
That last part is the part for me.
Yeah, no question. I mean, if Everton wins those two in hand, puts them at 43, they're behind Leicester in goal difference. It's something that they would have to work out.
But they're in the Champions League race.
Right, they're in the Champions League race, no question. So, and Liverpool chasing a title, I think that's done unless something happens to City that we're not foreseeing. Because 14 in a row that they've won, and it's just insane right now what we're seeing out of Manchester City.
And there's a lot of elements to it. I mean, Ragamuffin says don't downplay the extra Europa matches for Leicester, for Manchester United, for Spurs. Absolutely. The Champions League matches for teams that are still in Champions League. Like, there's a lot of things that factor into it. Getting into the top four for Liverpool, I think, would be a successful season. With what they've had to deal with what they've done in the last 2 years, yeah, they get to Champions League next year, top four. That's a successful year. Be happy. It's okay. That's why these reactions out of Klopp are frustrating and annoying. Four card, I think, explains it really well. Jose doesn't care what you think. Klopp does care what you think. But he's lashing out, and it's just absurd. It's got to stop. It's getting a little ridiculous. Let's go over to La Liga. Atletico Madrid hosts Celta Vigo today. Atleti still has 2 games in hand. They'll have 1 game in hand after today. They have a 7-point lead over Barcelona and Real Madrid. Both of them had to come back and win their games under some stress this weekend. Barcelona didn't start Lionel Messi. Cracked the glass in case of emergency. Messi comes in and says, man, I don't like being in this spot. Let me just score a goal real fast. And he does. Barcelona ends up winning that game, and now they are in second. They are 7 points back, but Atleti has a chance to make that 10 points again today, and they are favored, I would assume, against Celta Vigo.
That they are. The number has gone down during the show, but Atleti is a minus 139 in the composite, courtesy of our friends at Odds Portal. Your draw is a plus 250, and Celta Vigo is almost a plus 500 to win.
We should probably go ahead and hit this because there's always something to get into. Real Madrid. Always drama. Sergio Ramos. He had his surgery. He's out for a little while. Still don't know what he's going to do. He doesn't want to take less money. He wants a 2-year deal somewhere. Real Madrid trying not to spend that money because they're trying to be fiscally responsible. It keeps getting more complicated. PSG is interested. They do intend to buy a new central defender. They're waiting to see what happens with Ramos and Real Madrid. There's also the David Alaba stuff. Ramos has generally had a good relationship with Florentino Perez, the president of the club. Florentino Perez has generally looked out for Sergio Ramos. Is he going to be able to in this case with the way the finances are going? He might not be able to. It could go down to the wire, and I kind of think it will. I think it's going to go down to the summer, and once we kind of see where the finances fall. It could go down also to see what Madrid does at manager, because Zinedine Zidane is under contract for another year. Most of the reporting has been he's gone in the summer no matter what. Zidane has now said, look, I might not come back of my own free will next year. I might walk myself. So if there's somebody new who comes in, if it's Raul, does he say, I need Sergio Ramos? As a new manager, I need that guy who understands this locker room and has control over this locker room and that captain. I need him. Pay the man. Is that how it goes down? It very well could. So I think the Ramos thing is not going to be settled till the end of the season. And it could create a really weird situation with the David Alaba stuff, with other potential center backs in the mix, and with a PSG who, if they waited out for Ramos, do they miss out on somebody else because they're waiting to see there? It's going to get weird.
Yeah, I think that that's one situation. I think that a lot of the key players that we've talked about, I think that it's going to be that moving musical chairs that we've talked about. If player A goes here, then player B goes here. These are the teams that are involved, and it's as many as 6 of the major players in Europe that are going to be having decisions as to who they can get, who's going where, and how it impacts all the others. It's going to be a crazy, silly season.
Yeah, you've got a couple that are really, really weird in terms of the domino effect, because you've got Lionel Messi and what that will do. And Manchester City, of course, they're watching. PSG, of course, they're watching. They're waiting to see where that goes. Messi, I think, is going to give Barcelona every opportunity to make it right and for him to stay. He's going to give them that opportunity out of respect. They might not be able to. So he still might leave, but then how long does City and PSG wait? Because they're the only two who can pay the guy.
Yeah.
If they decide not to wait, does that affect Kylian Mbappe? And we talked about the potential for him to sign a new deal in PSG, but with an out clause for Real Madrid when they have the money to pay that out clause. And it might not be this year. It might be next year. It might be 2 years down the road. So you've got knock-on effects there. There's been talk about Jadon Sancho maybe being a guy who, if City or if PSG don't get Messi, they're like, well, we could go get this guy instead. Mm-hmm. Not the same kind of player, but we might go spend some money here. You've got a lot of those. The center back situation with Alaba, with Ramos, with Upamecano, all different ages, all different situations, but they're all going to be kind of interrelated, and it can get really weird with these big clubs in the summer window. On the attacking side, with the Messi dominoes, and on the defensive side, with the Ramos dominoes.
I mean, you're looking at David Ornstein mentioned this morning about Manchester City that if Messi doesn't go their way, they're looking at the idea of re-signing Sergio Aguero, but Aguero is going to listen and he's going to wait until things kind of settle themselves out a little bit. They're looking at possibly Romelu Lukaku. Do you bring in Danny Ings, who might be a little more financially available from Southampton?
Did we seriously just go from Messi to Aguero to Lukaku to Ings?
Lukaku and Ings, I know. But that's, Manchester City might be looking to bring in two guys instead of just one if they can't get Messi. And so it's, you could be dealing in bulk if you're Manchester City in the offseason.
Well, Aguero has also been linked to Barcelona if Messi stays in Barcelona, which could get really interesting. Does Aguero become the new Luis Suarez in Barcelona? Not a bad look. It could happen. Things get strange. Things are going to get weird. It's going to be fun to watch. One thing we haven't talked about from the weekend yet is Tigres. Tigres, first CONCACAF team to make it to the Club World Cup final. They beat a dreadful Palmeiras side. Thank you, Tigres. Gracias, Tuca Ferretti. I mean, it's not like you're the most exciting team in the world, but, man, Palmeiras is a zit on the face of good soccer. Palmeiras makes me sad for the game.
And if you can, go ahead and schedule the next match to watch between Monterrey and Tigres. Because, my God, Tigres is the first CONCACAF team to make this final, and they are going to let Monterrey know about it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. No, there's going to be a lot of talk. We will see who they play.
Fighting.
Well, that too. We will see who they play today, with Al Ahly playing Bayern Munich. Now, remember, Bayern had their crazy travel issues, and it was a little complicated for them. They eventually got there, so they are ready to go today. But that game is at 1 o'clock in an hour. You can watch it on Fox Deportes and on FS2, I'm assuming.
Yeah, and the number for Bayern has gone all over the place, and this is just in the last 24 hours. It was minus 714 at one point. Then it went all the way up to, in some places, a minus 1250. William Hill is giving Bayern Munich at minus 1250. It's kind of settled down to about a minus 855, and it's still very volatile here in the hour before kick. You can get Al Ahly as high as plus 2,600 currently on the board. Your draws anywhere from basically a plus 750 to a plus 1,000, depending on where you're looking.
Not touching any of that. We have the team declared as Uruguay Cuatro in the Copa Libertadores. Somebody stepped up. They said, we'll take that spot. And it's Liverpool of Uruguay. I wonder if Nathan Pugh is going to be supporting Liverpool in Uruguay.
I would think so.
They have declared themselves as, yes, we will be number 4. We will play Universidad Católica in the first round of the Libertadores that starts here in a couple weeks. That's the madness. As crazy as Libertadores was last time around in Sudamericana, the preliminary rounds start not even a couple weeks. They start like next week. The Argentine League starts again this weekend. It's all starting again. Thomas Duin says. I love that. Really... Thomas Duin says, I love that Liverpool of Uruguay can exist, but Inter Miami cannot. You got River Plate. You got Barcelona of Ecuador. I mean, we can go through a whole bunch of these.
I mean, oh my God! Wouldn't it be just easier to say that the Argentine season never stops?
They take breaks. I mean, normally they take breaks, like during the summer, which would be, right around now. They're usually back to playing by now when they do their normal seasons. But they've had, I think, in the last 7 years, they've had 43 different formats for competitions. I think it's 7, to be honest. But
still.
It's crazy. So, yeah, I mean, they don't go year-round, and they just had a long break, with COVID. So the one thing that's news out of Argentina, and a lot of people are waiting to see how this goes, and yes, finances play into this because clubs need money. Are we going to see a return of spectators to the stadiums in Argentina? The league, the AFA, which the league is it's not like here where MLS and the U.S. Soccer Federation are separate but work together. The AFA runs the league in Argentina. And they are proposing 33% capacity. That's what they are shooting for the stadiums, for the cup that's about to start this weekend. That's what they are trying to get. So we will see where that goes. I don't know the whole process here to get this sorted out. I mean, I'm assuming you're dealing with the local health authorities, your country's Minister of Health, CONMEBOL as well. A lot of things have to go into place to do this, and we'll see if they can pull it off. But that's what they're trying to get to, is fans in the stands in Argentina for the new competition that starts.
Very, very cool. And hopefully obviously, cool. Yeah, hopefully cool that you can get to that point, and then you're hoping that this is possibly a first step toward other countries, larger attendance, those kinds of things. It's good to see this one come in the door.
Yeah, one other thing on coronavirus stuff with the game. Remember the international windows previously where clubs did not have to release players who had quarantine issues on either part of the journey, leaving when they arrived to the national team or coming back. That has been extended. So the March window coming up, if players face a mandatory quarantine of at least 5 days on any part of their intended journey or government-imposed border restrictions that do not exempt professional sports, those call-ups can be excused. Now, we saw that with some MLS teams back and forth, and it got complicated in some situations. You've got a few bigger ones here that could get weird. The South American ones are going to be the ones to watch because you've got World Cup qualifiers in March that are big games coming up, and you're going to want all of your top players. But if there's issues with this, clubs can actually say, no, we're not sending our player if they have at least a 5-day quarantine on either side, coming back or going. And that's gonna factor in.
Yeah, and that's once again, this is literally country by country, case by case, and all of this stuff has to be juggled as we're getting into. We're at least domestically, a lot of folks were looking at July as one of those bellwether months to hopefully have larger attendances. But this is something that literally is going to have to be monitored one country to the next, to the next, to the next, because of all of the interwoven relationships with competitions and national teams and things like that. It's going to have to be something to be paid attention to for the entire year, just on a lot of different fronts.
Thomas Jewin in his research says that La Capital in Rosario says that Atlanta United paid Newell's $500,000 for 80% of Escobar's pass back in 2018. Good research, Thomas. Good work. we got to get into idiots down here, morons down here, beyond plonkers down here, reprehensible people down here. Yeah. They are flexing their stupid muscles on social media yet again. Mike Dean, who, yeah, I think he got the call wrong. I think he really got it wrong on sending off Thomas Suchek of West Ham. I think it was a horrible call. I think the VAR, I think all of it was bad. It wasn't a send-off. That was awful. Mike Dean is asked not to officiate a Premier League game this weekend because of receiving abuse and death threats on social media after that decision. Family's been targeted with social media abuse. All of it's been reported to the police. PGMOL Managing Director Mike Riley says threats and abuse of this nature are totally unacceptable, and we fully support Mike's decision to report these messages his family received to the police. Nobody should be victim of abhorrent messages like this. Online abuse is unacceptable in any walk of life, and more needs to be done to tackle the problem. Bingo, yes, absolutely. This has to stop. Mike Dean is not the only person that this has happened with. This has happened with Manchester United women's players. This has happened with Manchester United men's players. This has happened with multiple players around England right now. It is an absolute embarrassment. I hate talking about it, but we're going to continue to because it needs to be pointed out. And yes, you're at the point now where Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all of you, TikTok, whatever, all of you have to handle racist abuse, violent threats better. It's unacceptable. Because, look, some people, I'm sorry, are too stupid to know what's right and wrong. Some people are too stupid to know how to treat people the right way. And stop encouraging them. Stop allowing it. If somebody sends a racist message, ban them from your platform. Period. Somebody puts a racist comment on somebody's picture, ban them. And hey, let's go a step further. Emojis. How about you get rid of ones that racists use, first off? Why don't you get rid of those? Because, again, some people are too stupid to understand how you should treat people. And, yes, it doesn't give them an excuse, but you're not fixing it, so get rid of it. Ban it. Get rid of those emojis. Somebody makes a violent threat to somebody on a social media platform, I don't need you to look into it and have a hearing about all like 20 different people going through it. And, well, is this really a threat? No, if you threaten somebody, you're banned. Period. Because we see what it can do. Stop it. Needs to get eliminated from the game. Clubs, if you can, and look, y'all got investigators. Police has got investigators. You determine that these people are season ticket holders. Get them out of your club. Refund their money. Say you're never buying season tickets from us again. Do this now. We've seen too much of it in the last week, let alone the last months. It's got to stop. Because now you're getting idiots who are like, oh, this is the cool thing to do these days. Stop it. Get it out of the game. Get it out of life. You should not have referees who don't want to work because they're afraid of threats to their family. You shouldn't have players who say, well, you know, I'm used to this by now. I've seen worse. You shouldn't have to deal with that. So social media companies, clubs, do what you can. Get rid of the things that can allow it to happen. Get rid of the people who do it. And clubs, ban these people. Leagues, ban these people. Take it a step further. You're the Premier League, EFL, FA, so-and-so 73X, whatever. Yeah, you sent a message threatening somebody's life. You sent a racist message to this player who's part of our family. You're banned. You're not buying a ticket to anything we have. We know who you are. You're banned. Your name comes up, you're banned. You did that with hooligans. The FA did that with hooligans. They had a list. When they were cracking down on hooligans, you're on my hooligan list. You can't come in today. We can do that with Instagram, people. So, you want to play stupid games? You win stupid prizes. You're banned. Bye. But social media companies have to do a better job, too. There should not be monkey emojis because these people are using them in racist ways. Get rid of them. You have to get rid of the banana emoji, too, because people are stupid and use them in stupid ways? Ban it. Get rid of it. Gun emojis? Absolutely. Get rid of it. Get rid of them. Ban the people? Get rid of those emojis? Can we please talk about football and not the stupid, idiot actions?
And if it's to the level of criminality, if it's, if
it's a threat, it's criminal. Look, I don't know the laws in every country. That part, sure, obviously. But if it's a threat and you're threatening a referee, you're threatening a player, those people are part of your association. You ban the people who are making the threats from doing anything with your association. And let the police sort out the rest. But the leagues and the teams can do a better job as well of banning these people. Do what you can do. Don't wait on everybody else to do it.
And the Culture Secretary in the UK, Oliver Dowden, says that social media companies face large fines, which could total billions of pounds if they fail to tackle abuse. Fine them. Go.
Fine them, but stop. But don't sit here and say it's on them too. Do what you got to do as well. The leagues need to do what they need to do. The teams need to do what they need to do. Stop the pointing fingers like, well, you need to do it. Well, you need to do it. Do what you can do. Mm-hmm. Control what you can control. And they can cry cancel culture, Uncle, and we're on the same page. They can cry all they want, but they can cry in silence because we're not going to hear it on the platform that they used to be on. Good. They can go find a new one. Have fun. Mm-hmm. Don't subject these players to this. Don't subject a referee to this. Referees make mistakes, and it was a bad mistake. Doesn't in any way make it okay to threaten a man's family.
No.
It's absurd. A player has a shot deflect off of them, and you're going to start with racist nonsense. Get out. Get out. They can go make up their own thing and send text messages in their racist group chat. I don't care. Have fun. Morons.
Yes. Just get out of the game.
Get them out of the game because they're not going to get out of the game. That's the problem. Is they're not going to get out on their own because they think they have control over the game.
Yep.
They think they get to say, "Look," it's Paul Canaville, who is a Chelsea legend. He's a Chelsea legend because he was the first black player at Chelsea in the 1980s. Yeah, in the 80s, he was the first black player ever at Chelsea. He's come to Atlanta, had a chance to meet him. Great man, does great work with his foundation. He's been in the hospital. He's been going through a rough time. I hope Paul is doing better. I hope Paul's going to get through everything that he's dealing with right now. But in Paul Canaville's case, people at his own club racially abused him to his face from the stands. He didn't have to do it through social media at that time. He went to warm up for the first time to go into the game. He thought it was the opposing fans that were racially abusing him. It was his own fans. And he talked about how hard that was for him to deal with that. Ultimately, those people were pushed to the side. Did all of them get pushed out of the club? No, probably not. Some of them were able to hide. And stuff comes up because there's awful people in every club's fan base. It happens. But you have to get them out. You can't wait for them to leave. They think they have the control. You got to take that away from them. They're going to act that way while representing your club as a fan. Don't let them do it officially. Don't let them buy a ticket. Don't let them have a season ticket. Block them from all of your players' platforms. Do whatever you got to do. But it is it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, and it's becoming too big of a thing now because there's not this reaction to get them out. They ain't leaving on their own.
No, right there with you. We are on the same page on this.
Yeah,
I'm tired of talking about it, but it has to be talked about to get it out of the game.
It has to be talked about for the people who have the control to get them out. Because I appreciate what Dowden's saying, and he's right. The social media companies have to do a better job of this. They've got to figure out how to deal with these things better. but don't sit back and wait for that. Somebody made a threat on one of the referees' families. Somebody threatens them, don't wait to see if they're actually going to do it. I don't care if they think they were being funny. I don't care if they think they can get away with saying something they don't actually do. No, that's not okay anymore. You're going to make that threat? Bye. And if the government has to do something about it, I don't know what the laws are, what they can. Okay, if they can't, then everybody with the club, everybody with the league, ban them from ever doing anything officially with the FA, with the EFL, with the Premier League, with that club. Block them out. And they can cry, and they can do whatever. Block them out. Block them out. That's all you can do.
Yep. What else is on your mind?
That's about it. We'll have soccer over there tonight. We'll go deeper into some of the things on the field. We'll talk about the games today. Mentioned Al-Ahly and Bayern at 1 o'clock. Leeds and Crystal Palace at 3 o'clock. Atleti and Celta Vigo at 3 o'clock as well. Benfica plays at 2 o'clock. You've got León and Chivas tonight in Liga MX play. You've got Grêmio and Botafogo playing in the Brasileirão. I think that's the big ones. You've got a game in Colombia as well with Bucaramanga and La Equidad. That's in the second division, so you're not going to get to see that. But I did find out one thing this weekend as I was starting to go back through former Atlanta United players. One that I was wondering where he ended up. La Equidad in Colombia, second division, is where Jose Hernandez is now playing. I was wondering where he had ended up. And he is in the Colombian second division with La Equidad. So, vamos, Deportivo La Equidad.
Also have some Liga MX Femenil tonight, as well as Monday Night Football, León and Chivas at 10 o'clock Eastern as well.
We're going to call it here because we got a lot more coming later today. Thanks for hanging out on a later edition of the show. I don't think this is going to be a regular thing, but if you guys want 3-hour shows, we're going to have to figure out the time frame.
Yes.
Along with the format, we're going to have to figure out the time frame and what it looks like. And do we start at 9 and go to 12? Does it start at 8? And John's going to have to figure out something with caffeine and go to 11. Does it move around?
I like
just going to get John some of that new Mountain Dew.
Oh, no.
Yeah, John freaked out about John Cena's watermelon Mountain Dew, like screaming no about it last night.
I'll still scream no about it. That was absolutely nasty.
Have you tried it?
Look, the answer is no.
So you said it's absolutely nasty. How do you know?
Considering their track record with the Vicks Formula 44M, that was the Code Red.
Code Red was pretty good. What's wrong with it?
We disagree completely. And you had the Berry Blast, and then what was the other blast that was like green or something?
I didn't try the green.
Baja Blast, yeah.
I didn't
You can get that at Taco Bell.
Was that a Taco Bell exclusive?
I think you can get it at Taco Bell and maybe a couple convenience stores like out in the sticks.
Yeah, the further away you get from large production population centers, the capabilities of getting other flavors of things increases. Is that what you're getting at, Jared?
The likelihood of seeing a sign at the gas station that is advertising an alligator farm is in direct correlation with the likelihood of finding Baja Blast at that gas station.
Yeah. So their track record with Diet Mountain Dew, Mountain Dew Zero.
Diet. This is not Diet or Zero. This is
still,
definitely fully leaded.
Their track record with other products outside of the original, in my view, has been a bad idea. This is just another part of adding to that I believe is a bad idea. All right, fine. Tell you what. Here's what we'll do.
Uh-oh.
I have to go once again to the tag office today because I couldn't get it settled when I tried to get it settled on Friday.
No,
you want to know why? Because the offices aren't connected by computers, which sounds like something that's straight out of my playbook. So I have to go to an entirely different tag office to get a tag for the new car. since I'm out in civilization, here's what I will do. I will stop at a convenience store. If they have that melon-flavored stuff, I will purchase it. On Wall Pass Wednesday, I will drink it on the air and give you my thoughts on it. I'll even drop some by your place if you want, and Gwen can drink it, and we can come up with the conclusions as to what John Cena's Mountain Dew tastes like on the air on Wednesday for Wall Pass. You can wake up now.
Are you done freaking out about watermelon Mountain Dew? Good grief. Man, that was scary. I'll try it because I like the watermelon Red Bull, and I think Domer had the idea of the day. No, Gwen's not drinking Mountain Dew. That's not a good idea at all. Domer's idea of watermelon Red Bull mojitos sounds amazing. I really like this idea.
I think you can get the alcoholic watermelon still at like Red Lobster, I think it was.
Ooh.
Or alcoholic Mountain Dew, excuse me. Like they had
they had. I think it was
Mountain Dew
Applebee's
margaritas or whatever.
Wasn't it like Applebee's or somewhere that did that?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, some place that millennials are destroying because, Mountain Dew margaritas isn't doing enough to destroy places. It's actually millennials.
Thomas Juen says, "Oh, I like this new format for the third hour. John tries new food." That's frightening. We'll get him some tacos de lengua. See how that goes.
Oh, there'll be no tacos de lengua, sir. That is not going to happen. There'll be no beef tongue consumed on this program.
We will never run out of material if that's the case, Kefsy. It's like, oh, what fairly common food has John not tried? Asparagus.
No, John has tried asparagus. It's nasty.
When did you last have asparagus?
Back in the 1890s when I was eating like meals at home, and people are trying to cook healthy things. So that is a definite no. That's not happening.
Have you ever had tofu?
Yes, and it tasted like a radial tire. Thank you very much.
I'm not a big tofu fan, but you can prepare it to where you can prepare it to where it doesn't taste that way. Did you just eat it raw?
No, it was cooked on a range, and flavors were added, and it still tasted like a radial tire, except that it had like soy sauce on top of it. So it's like a soy sauce radial tire.
That's really bad preparation.
I didn't do it, so it was like, here, have this. We're going to dump something on top of it to try to mask that this has no taste, and it's good for you. So
yeah, tofu tastes like whatever you cook it in. That's the point.
Yeah, so it basically was very chewy soy sauce. It was gamey soy sauce. It didn't work.
No. Brussels sprouts, John?
That's also a no.
That's a no? Is that a real no, or is that your, like, I eat them, but I'm trying to play up a character that I don't eat them?
No, that's a real no. I did not like the taste of that either.
Jarrett, see what I have to deal with on a regular basis?
Yeah.
Like somebody mentions food.
Better.
I know, right?
Yeah. Ivy's healthier than I am.
Ivy will light up a bowl of broccoli like nobody's business.
Mustard greens, John?
That'd be a no.
Do you know what they are?
I imagine it's a collard with that particular element of taste attached to it.
Sure, John. You might need.
It's a roundabout way to describe it.
Sure. I let some of these things just stand because it's just entertaining to see what happens.
Tofka wants to know how my asparagus was prepared. Roasted and backed is awesome. Out of a can is terrible. No, it was not out of a can, but it was still pretty terrible.
That's accurate.
Yeah, out of a can.
Get it fresh and roast it is where to go.
You can roast it. You can saute it. Like there's so many different ways you can do asparagus and make it very, very good. There's so many different ways you can trick up Brussels sprouts as well to make them really good.
Yeah, we cut them up and put them in with sliced apples, some sweet potato.
Mm-hmm. Sweet potato and Brussels sprouts is a good combo.
Yeah, I don't like sweet potatoes, so that'd be a no.
Generally some... Good God, what?
I know.
Generally
like sweet potato is like very inoffensive.
Nope.
Yeah, grill up that with some chicken, sliced roasted apples, sweet potato, Brussels sprouts. Cut it all up, throw it in a big dish, and go to town.
Fried okra?
Not happening.
Fried okra, John?
That'd be a no.
So I'm not even going to ask about boiled okra because that's worse, or stewed okra. I'm not even going to get into that.
Yeah, there will be no okra in any of my meals.
Fried okra is really good.
Joe Boss says that my rant on Mountain Dew is very scary. We know John and green veggies is established, and again, scary.
Yes. Perfect, Tommy. I don't know how you dislike sweet potatoes. Falafel, John.
I don't. No.
No? Goat cheese?
No.
No?
Well, first and foremost, I have a physical allergy to milk, so anything that has cheese makes my face break out.
All right.
And I look like I'm 12.
All right.
That's literally within 5 minutes of having anything. This is worse than being lactose intolerant. This is a physical allergy, and literally my face will break out within like 5 minutes.
Except you eat pizza with cheese.
But I instantaneously wash my face after I've eaten it, so that way my face does not break out. Because I can literally, after I have anything with a milk product, I literally can take a washcloth, and within 5 minutes, I can rub my forehead, and you can see the oil that has come off from all of that.
All right. I mean, no, that's a fair reason not to eat something. That's completely good. But
like I said, I do it at my own risk, knowing that there are consequences.
Okay, but at least that's a valid reason for not getting into the different cheeses out there.
Yes.
Kefsey has a good point. We have to approach this in a way that the palate actually expands, but John has to be willing to allow it to expand, and he has some very serious, weird opinions about some things.
I am Mikey on this show when it comes to food and palate. Yes.
Yeah, it's a little ridiculous, and Alex Pacine has a very good point. You put the pizza in your mouth, not on your forehead.
True, but once again, the cheeses and the oils associated with it is the after effect.
Maybe you're just a messy eater, John. I don't know.
That is probably true as well. So Joe Boss wants to know, WTF does John eat?
I don't know.
Yeah, you do.
What do you eat?
Well, I mean, you're the one that got me hooked on Las Brasas.
Well, what do you get at Las Brasas, though?
I get the...
you get the chicken fried rice, essentially.
Yeah, I get the chaufa pollo. Yeah.
You get the chaufa with chicken in it. Yeah. It's not that adventurous. It's really good. It's really, really good. But it's rice with chicken.
Uh-huh.
With peas and some zucchini in there. And a very spicy sauce.
Oh, that sauce, man. That sauce is epic.
Cleans
out your sinuses.
That's as adventurous as John has gotten in
I'm not a
4 years of the show.
Person. I'm not a spicy food guy.
You've dissed food that is so not spicy. It is not a spicy issue. It is a you eat like a 10-year-old issue.
Yeah.
Except I'm insulting Ivy now because she's not 10 and she eats better than you.
True.
Sorry, Ivy. I apologize. Kids menu. Yes, that is true.
About right.
I don't get it. Lomo saltado? Do you even know what that is?
No, I have no idea what that is.
You could get that at Las Brasas. You might want to look at other things on the menu. They have more than just the one.
Lomo saltado.
You look at that real quick. I'll give a shout out to Elsewhere Brewing. I had the choripan for my birthday on Friday. It was the first time I'd had their choripan with the salsa.
Okay, I could probably go there.
Oh, okay. The choripan with the salsa criollo, the chimichurri. It was really good. Really, 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 really good.
You've got me intrigued about the tiramisu.
They had a black beer tiramisu as well, which was the best birthday cake of all time. Really, really good stuff. Elsewhere Brewing over in Grant Park. Excellent. I had their Czech dark lager as well. That was very, very good. So if you're looking for some Argentine-influenced things, they are a good place. I'll have to try their Milanesa next time. That's going to do it. I don't think we're going to do an hour of food talk, but it's always entertaining when it comes up, and John sounds like he's going to try this
That's
new
just
Mountain
not
Dew.
possible.
It is possible, sadly, because there's that many things that John hasn't or won't try.
We kind of need Nick for that.
Yeah.
He's contractually obligated to be here for that much food talk.
He would. We'll have to figure out how that looks. We'll have Nick tonight, hopefully, for Soccer Over There, 7 o'clock on the Twitch pitch, on the app, on soccerdownhere.net, in all of your usual places. The podcast will go out afterwards. Thanks to our new and returning subscribers on Twitch and on Patreon today. We really, really appreciate it. Helps us grow, helps us do what we're doing, and helps us add a third hour of nonsense on a daily basis. And I'm terrified of this. I'm scared. But that's going to do it for today. Thanks for hanging out on a little bit later edition of the show. We all appreciate it. Mucho platio.
Mucho platio.
Much platio.